welcome to Catalyst Energies. Thanks for joining me, and I'm so grateful that you're here. It's March 23rd, 2020, and this is the first installment, first episode of the Starseed Viral Journey. This is a series that I hope it doesn't go beyond this one episode or this one video, documenting my own personal experience as an identified starseed, shamanic healer, and Reiki master, energy healer, all of that stuff, intuitive reader. I'm documenting my journey with the coronavirus because today is the first day that I'm experiencing what I would consider to be mild symptoms, but I am very in tune with the inner landscape of my body energetically, especially in the last couple of weeks. There's been a lot of energy work given and received as well, and for a long time, if you identify with any of these roles at all personally, then you know that you've been prepared for this for a long time. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to get sick with the virus. And I want to impress upon people that are healers, intuitive readers, energy workers of any kind, that when you get sick, to be easy on yourself and take care of yourself, because I feel as if this is going to be a cascading effect throughout the United States. Now, my personal lifestyle for the past, I would say since December, has been exactly as it is now in terms of what I do. All of my business is digitally based right now. I, up until recently, had been a professional house sitter. So I was at home with the animals that I was caring for, and doing all of my content and my readings, my one-on-one readings and energy work from the home base. And I really was very much minimizing the amount of time that I was going out, unless it was for exercise, like walking or hiking, walking the dogs, that kind of stuff, going into the woods. So nothing has really changed, and I've been out very few times. Now, the people I do live with, there are other things, other people are participating in society to the level that they're going to. Some people had to go to work. Some people, they've been grocery trips, going to get water, different types of supplies. And so considering the veracity and how strong in terms of this virus seems to be in its lifespan and its ability to survive the environment, it's not surprising that it's very easy to spread. Now, so this journey is going to document what I'm going through, and I do for my own sake and for the people around me that I'm, committed to helping. I really hope that my immune system, I've taken care of it, and that it is being well cared for enough, and has been, in order to do the job that it is now doing. Because when you have symptoms, it's not because of the virus. As many of you probably know, it's your immune system. That is what you feel when you have symptoms, is your immune system turning up the thermostat of your entire body. So there are a couple of things that are really important to do to naturally support your immune system. I have a whole video on energetic hygiene, and that is all stuff that supports your immune system. So I'll tag that in the video at the end of the video, and you can go check that out, because it's really simple, and it tells you, some really pragmatic tips about the types of things that you can be doing. Because right now we're all being forced into a slowdown, and in some cases, most cases, a complete shelter in that's mandated. So there's a lot of time for us to be helping ourselves and our immediate communities with staying healthy. And I believe it to be necessary that we're in this position, so that we can really focus within, because that's where we're going to get the most benefit right now, is going inward, being still, being receptive, and receiving. And for people who are healers and healthcare workers as well, the more we take care of ourselves and utilize some of the things I'm going to talk about, the less burden we put on those people professionally and energetically and physically, so that they aren't getting burnt out and they aren't like tired soldiers on the front line, because people are actually doing what they're supposed to be doing to take care of themselves and their bodies. And so what we put into our bodies is a big part of it. The types, and that doesn't mean just food or substances. That's also the thoughts that we entertain or consistently allow to cycle through, you know, our emotional state. Like, are we grounded? Are we centered? Um, are we keeping our emotions at least flowing instead of getting stagnant or out of control? These all really impact our immunity. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I got here. Today, my symptoms are very mild, but you can even see it in my face if you know me. I am incredibly tired. I do feel a little bit of like, there's the faintest little bit in my throat and in my sinuses. It's so faint, but I can feel like the tiredness, especially all the way up in here. And that's where the virus usually, it's embedded in the throat and then moves into the lungs. So hot water, hot liquids, soups, lemon water, anything warm liquids. This is already a daily of my life. This is something I learned through Ayurvedic medicine. Cold beverages impact your digestion. And in this case, cold beverages are not going to do what we need them to, what we need liquids to do, which is flush the virus into our digestive system as opposed to letting it settle into our lungs, because our digestive system and our gut has a lot of immune cells, a lot. And so getting that into that system and letting it flush out that way is important. So before coming to this point, there were a couple specific symptoms that came up that had I now in hindsight realized, and I kind of suspected. So one of them was I was going to the last couple of days, the bathroom like a lot. Like I'm always drinking a lot of fluids, but I started having to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom a lot, and just peeing a lot during the day, and also bowel movements way more than I'm used to, and nothing uncomfortable or weird or anything like that, but just more flushing. It became really obvious to me that all of a sudden my body was starting to push out as much toxicity and stuff that didn't need to be there as it could. And that happened about 2 days ago. I also started to get what felt like a UTI for about a day, and then it cleared up. And so that was my first indication that my immune system was starting to work a little bit harder. And I started to sleep a lot. Now, part of that was receiving some energy work, some beautiful work that allowed me to sleep. But I also, my body was really recharging and getting the sleep that it needed. So feeling tired, definitely part of it. These are symptoms that I have right now that I think if you weren't really tuned into your body, you might just let slide right under the table and not even pay attention. But for me, I can tell that my immune system has kicked on. It is turned up the thermostat in my body. So what are the things you can do to help in this situation? It sounds like the World Health Organization has suggested against ibuprofen and more towards acetaminophen if you need medication to help if your symptoms are really severe, especially fever and stuff like that. So what I did though is I took sweating as much as you can before you're even symptomatic is really going to help. So obviously exercise, but hot baths, if you have access to a sauna that's private, like if you have your own sauna, but a hot bath will do it. You know, a brisk walk, you know, just anything to get the body to start sweating, because this is one of the major outlets of toxicity for your lymph system, because your lymph nodes don't have their own, the lymph vessels and the lymph fluid, which is what your immune system, it's the, the system that it's the plumbing for your immune system and flushing everything to your lymph nodes and, into eventually your kidneys. But this is, you need deep breathing, deep diaphragmatic breathing is going to move your lymph into around your body, exercise, muscle contraction, and then dry brushing is great for that as well, to really get the lymph moving. And then also like the heat, so getting in a hot bath. Now, I've also been huffing tea tree oil if you have access to it. Now, I've seen on the internet people are saying to put some in your water. I see why, and maybe to gargle it, but it is kind of you don't really it's not safe to ingest tea tree oil. It's very astringent and incredibly potent, and anything that is antifungal and antiviral is also anti-human, if that makes sense. The cells, well, with a virus, you're not even talking about cells. You're talking about just DNA wrapped in a thing. And with this virus, it's not even DNA, it's RNA just wrapped in a shell. But when you're talking about fungus, you're talking about cell structure that's more close to humans than plant. And so when you have these types of substances that are very good at killing off these pathogens, they also potentially can kill off human cells. And so you don't want to ingest tea tree. I really recommend that you put in diffuser or a steam, like you can heat up some water so it's steaming, and then do the towel over your head and do a steam inhalation. Anything to get it. You can even put it in oil base, like a coconut oil or almond oil base, whatever you use as a base, and you can rub it almost like a Vicks vapor rub. You can rub it here, or just take a big huff of it. You don't even have to take it out of the bottle. You can just take a huff of it. Be mindful who's using your tea tree oil and all of your oils in terms of like being hygienic, but if getting it into your sinuses and into your throat is going to help clear the virus before it gets into your lungs, which seems to be where it's really causing the most problems, is when it gets there. So when you start to feel sick, take it seriously and really start to ramp up your self-care routine, because it appears that if it is allowed to progress, and especially if it settles into the lungs, this is where it gets really difficult. And it's not to say that people won't recover. I just think it seems like it's going to be more difficult. I don't know. I guess we'll find out as I move along this journey. Trying to think if there's anything else in this particular, because this is all still fresh. So I'm not taking any more one-on-one energy work clients. It's all going to be content-based for now in terms of astrology and intuitive stuff. I can't even really get into intuitive stuff actively because, again, doing the energy work is really taxing on the body and the energy field, and it really needs to be bolstered right now so I can stay healthy for the long term. I would love to hear comments if anybody's experiencing anything, also having symptoms, has any questions. You can reach out. In the description box will be all of my contact information, ways to get a hold of me. You can look at my services on my Facebook page. They're not going to be available to book right now, but there's going to be a lot of content coming. So if you want to subscribe to the channel, then you'll know exactly when it happens. And if you're on my Facebook, if you follow me on Facebook, then you'll also get those videos that are live or like stories or whatever. But I'm really focusing now on like relaying my experience to people. So when I took a hot bath, I work with a lot of crystals now, and there's a very specific reason for that, in that they help recalibrate and attune and energetically. And so you don't have to, there's so much information out there that I would say do your own research, but at the same time, like there's a lot of conflicting information. So this is why you got to trust your own intuition about things. But I used citrine, I used sunstone, I used anything that felt or looked like it was going to support the immune system. So things that are like orange and yellow. I used lemon topaz. So here's the citrine. It's a type of quartz. This is a sunstone. It's actually a pendant, but I just use it as a stone now. Lemon topaz. Kind of protecting. I have this huge piece of citrine that I have, citrine quartz. Citrine is great that it just like boosts your immune system, boosts your energy, but it also clears things out really, really well. And then I had a piece of black tourmaline for protection. I had a piece that I don't know what it is, but it's from a very special place that I'm just between me and that place, but is very powerful. And then a piece of jasper that I can't find anymore. So I put those all in the water with me. They will help also realign your energy, especially in your sacral and root chakra, which is where we really need to be like conditioning and making tonifying, making sure that those areas are nice and strong and connected to the earth, because that's really going to be important. I talked about the tea tree specifically because it's antiviral, and getting it into your nasal passages and your throat, but not ingesting it internally. That could be very dangerous. And if you are, you know, under a doctor's care already, be mindful that you should be looking to somebody who's certified in aromatherapy and essential oils to help you, because they are not to be taken lightly. They are very powerful medicine that could really help us, but also could be easily, I wouldn't even say misused, just not used correctly, and could be, especially tea tree, don't take it internally, just don't. Gargling with lemon water, limes, garlic, ginger. These are all things that are going to stimulate your immune system, which is your best defense. Because honestly, we're going to start building immunity to this stuff if we get sick and start building antibodies. So it's almost better for me. I anticipated getting sick, and I have a little astrology about that, and then I'll stop here because there may be more videos. We'll see. I anticipated, I prepared for getting ill. I'm a little bummed because I was really starting to, because I don't want to not be working one-on-one with people. But I will say that I am a 0 degrees Aquarius, my ascendant, and Saturn just moved into Aquarius last night or 2 nights ago. And in the first house, the ascendant in the first house in astrology has a lot. It's who you are. It's the baseline of your personality. It's the seed point of who you are, from which everything grows. It also does represent the physical body, like the vessel that your soul is in. And so for Saturn to move into that first, into 0 degrees, pretty much on my ascendant, I already anticipated that I was going to get ill in order to develop the immunity and the antibodies quickly in order to then be part of a larger healing process that's going to be unfolding for the next year. Absolutely. At least for the rest of 2020. Like, this is not something that's going to blow over, my friends, in 2 weeks and we go back to normal. I really wish it was going to be that way. But I am, and there's not many things that I want to necessarily tell people what they should or shouldn't do, or what is or isn't. I really want to just give what's here in my experience, and people can kind of come to their own conclusions based on what I'm reporting. But this is one of those things that many people already know, that there's no turning back. This is the Saturn and Pluto conjunction at the beginning of January. The door has been closed and the process is already unfolding. And so if you are in a place where you feel like it's going to blow over and we're going to go back to business as usual, I really feel like you might be setting yourself up for some disappointment, to put it mildly. It could be very difficult for people. And I'm going to be posting my new moon video. I'm going to be recording it right after this. That's going to talk more about that from an astrological perspective. This is just more about, hey, I'm a real person. I identify as somebody who sees this process as a much larger spiritual picture. And I'm also starting to develop symptoms of this virus, and I want to document it in order for people to feel okay about where they're at, and give some real feedback about the experience so that people can get something of value out of it. I think it's going to be important. There's a lot of there's so much conflicting information, and we have to start focusing on what's right in front of us and the reality that we're looking at right directly in front of us, before we can, and that will reverberate out into the collective, into the global situation, into our communities. That will certainly that'll ripple out in a concentric circle type of way. But for now, it's become very clear, I think, that where it's time to, it's time now. Like, the wave is crashing over, at least over it's been crashing, but with the US specifically, it's crashing right now. And I mean, I just think the Western world in general, it's kind of crashing in right now. And so If you are getting sick and you identify as a healer, it's okay. Take care of yourself right now, because there's going to be plenty of work to do um, once we as a planet at least get past this portion, because there's a lot more to do after this. This is just setting the stage, honestly. So that's the end of my first episode of the Starseed viral journey. Reach out if you have questions, if you have concerns. I'm not taking any readings right now, but stay tuned. Like I said, if you subscribe and you follow me on Facebook, you'll get all the content that I'm creating every day. That's mostly astrology, which I've found to be incredibly helpful for putting all of this into context and giving us a sense of how to be a co-creator of this process rather than feel like a victim to it. So everybody take care of yourselves. I'll talk to you on the next installment. Bye.